Welcome to Martini Time, the happy time of the day. And this is broadcasting here from Blackstone, Virginia, the center of the world. But then you too are at the center of the world. Think of it not like a flat map where all these centers are around, but think about the GPS Navigator. Because when you're on that map, you are the center of the world and the world boots around you. That's the new paradigm. That's the subjective paradigm. That's the map. That's when you are the center, the unique center of the world. See? And the GPS map, Navigator, is the perfect metaphor for that. Just imagine you're sitting in the car and your wife's got the flat map and you got the GPS map there. And the flat map is the way we see the world in our common sense. I'm here, you're there, Blackstone there, crew there, everything is on this flat map. And you go from here to there. And there's only one right way to go. You don't want to go all around like that. You go straight there. And if you don't go that way, you're an idiot. By the navigator on the flat map. But on the navigator of the GPS map, you're always at the center. And so wherever you step, the world adjusts around you. You see? And you're never an idiot because no matter where you turn, the navigator just says turn left, turn right, turn left. You're always going home. You're never lost. You're at the center of the world. And this is the Buddhist map. This is the Zen map. This is the spiritual map. The worldly map, of course, is going to be flat and you got to catch a bus to go from here to there. And that's great because you got to catch a bus and you got to make stuff. And there's a quick way to go, and there's a long way. You know, when we get lost and go the wrong way, and then oh no, I go back, you see. That's a real map, but it's not the only map. Now we have a GPS map, and that's the subjective map. That's where I find my center, you see. On the flat map, there is no center. There is no center on the flat map of the world. There used to be, in the middle. I don't want to get in the Middle Ages. Okay, so where do we want to go tonight? My topic tonight is the importance of a spiritual vow. I've been working. If you go to my blog, tokillaminotaur.com, where all these talks are, you'll see the myth of the Minotaur, Theseus and the Minotaur and Ariadne's thread. There was in the labyrinth. So there's 4 factors in this myth. There's the labyrinth, which is a metaphor for the mind and the world. And there's a minotaur inside of it, our shame or our buried pain that we're avoiding, that we run from, that we don't want to turn and see. And then there's the hero soul, that's you. And then there's Ariadne's thread, the golden thread, that when you go into the mind, you unroll the golden thread and then you can come back out after you face your shame and your pain body. When you see your pain body, it goes poof. It may take a while, but it goes poof because you're not feeding it. You're not feeding the Minotaur. This is a great myth. So let's talk about Ariadne's thread and a spiritual vow. Now, a lot of us make vows, and they are spiritual, but we may think they are worldly. But a vow is something that you vow not to break, no matter what. A marriage is that kind of vow. I can think of several. All right, if you got smoking and you vow not to smoke anymore, no matter how hard the desire gets, it doesn't bother you. Now there's several factors right there. If the vow is from the heart, if the vow is from your center, on the GPS map, if your vow is from that center, the desire to smoke or the desire of your addiction or whatever you vow not to do just falls off. But if your vow is from the labyrinth, from the mind, then you've got to fight it. Then you got to say, oh God, I want a cigarette. Oh, I want that donut. Oh no, I want that donut. But I'm not going to do it. I'm going to be strong. But oh, I want it. And this is civil war. And finally, the vow will break because you get exhausted. You have no energy left to fight it. Or maybe you're lucky and you just wear it out. But when the vow is made from the GPS Navigator of the heart, it falls off because there's no conflict with it. You, from the center. Your center is not in conflict with anything in your mind. Your center is a unity, is whole, second to none. But if I have a desire for using cigarettes as a metaphor, if I vow not to smoke, now I'm two. If the vow is from the mind or from the labyrinth, remember the labyrinth is a mind? So if the vow is from the labyrinth of the mind, I'm dividing myself. I don't want to smoke, I want to smoke. Nee, 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 you see. Finally, we just get exhausted, or we think we beat it. And we're sitting down with a friend and they put a pack of cigarettes there and they light up, and the next thing you know, you lit that damn cigarette. And now the dam is broke. Oh, what the hell. So there are different kinds of vows. The first vow I ever took was when I knew that I was on a spiritual journey. This was back in 1970. I had a great Satori experience in 1968, and I knew I was on a spiritual journey. I knew I was on the journey to find the heart, to find the center, to find my GPS Navigator. And I knew I was in the labyrinth, and I knew a tiger had been awakened, and there was something alive in me, and what shall it be? And I needed a discipline. I needed to find some way to, I needed Ariadne's thread. I needed to get out of this madness, get out of this mind, get out of this conflict of self-division and fighting myself, not being whole, not being present, not being here. Half here, a little bit here, always holding back. Where was the heart, you see? So I knew I wanted to, and a friend of mine had a yoga teacher in Cleveland, Alice Christensen, and I knew and I trusted him. There was a contact made there, a transmission. So I went up there, and I walked in to see her, and she was visiting with somebody, and they were getting ready to go, she was getting ready to go give a talk. And I just walked up and said, Alice, I want to be your student. And she said, okay. And then she got out a piece. So, all right, here's a mantra. She wrote it down. Say this mantra, 60 rounds. So this is do this japa. Take the, say these are 120 beads. And say this mantra 60 rounds. So Om Namah Shivaya, Om Namah Shivaya, Om Namah Shivaya. It took 2 hours to do that every day. Stop drinking, stop smoking, stop eating meat. I was doing all three, had no intention to quit. And do these yoga asanas. All right, do the yoga, do the mantra, do the mala, no cigarettes, no meat, and come see me in a year. Then you can do what you want. Oh, is that all? Wow. That was the vow. And I was centered in that vow that she gave me, and I didn't have any desire for cigarettes, smokes, alcohol, and I had no problem doing 2 hours of japa and doing those yoga asanas. Boom. And so then after the year, we eventually moved up to Cleveland, and I met my yoga master there, Swami Rama, and I had a few spiritual experiences with him, and then my trip was on. And now I don't want to get into the rest of the story. I want to stay on this idea of a vow. I left. I wasn't getting what I wanted out of this yoga. So after a couple of years, we came back to Virginia. I couldn't get a job, so I was driving a meat truck. I was a vegetarian meat truck driver here in Virginia. My truck would be loaded up in the morning, and I would deliver it all day. And the next morning it would be loaded up again, and I would deliver it all day. The myth of the Prometheus bound that I talked about last night, The vulture ate my liver during the day and it healed at night. I unloaded the karma and the meat during the day and it was emptied at night. So anyway, the point is the cigarettes and the alcohol and the meat came back. And now I'm sitting in this truck, the big yogi, smoking, throwing the cigarettes out the window with one hand, buying it with the other. And not only did I eat meat, I took home the expired hot dogs, fed it to the family. And of course had my I had my drinks, see. But then I began doing battle with guilt. I'm a fallen yogi. I've fallen off my path. What am I to do? I couldn't stop. After 3 years, I suddenly asked my heart. I remember directly asking my heart. My heart asked itself. My GPS Navigator asked itself, what do you really want to do? What does your heart want to do? I want to go back and practice yoga. I want to go back on my path. And immediately, my GPS Navigator kicked in, and the smokes and the drinks and the desire and all of that fell off, and arrangements were quickly made, and we moved back to Cleveland. I had miles to go before I slept. But these are examples of a vow from the heart that you don't have to fight with, that doesn't divide you. The next vow I made was in 1986. We had left India in 1980. My guru, Swami Muktananda, died in 82. I was now living in Virginia, and I had lost my center, my GPS Navigator that I had given to my guru. So now I had lost my GPS Navigator. I had given my center to my guru. And then he died, so I had to find it again. Now, all my life, you see, I'd been moving every 2 years. I grew up in a Navy family. Bags packed, always lived in an apartment, rented house. And I continued that moving, that wandering. And here I was in Blackstone, and it seemed like a graveland. I was not going to find my center here. This was not my land. So I wanted to leave, to move on, to continue the search, you see. And I got a job with the Courier Record, which was a creative feature writing job, and a vow happened. And the vow was not really, I got to take a vow, but it was the realization that I was not going to move anymore. This was it. There was no place else I could go that I could not practice and could not continue my path. So something shifted and I stopped thinking about where am I going to go next. I unpacked my bags. This is it. Like Buddha, I sat under the tree of Blackstone and said, I'm not moving anymore. I'm not getting up until I awaken and realize the truth of suffering and the labyrinth, you see. And let's see, when was the next vow? Okay, so after I left the Courier Record, I was opened up a photography studio. And smoking, I didn't smoke again, but drinking, eating meat and all that, there was no thought of my path. There was no thought of yoga. There was no practice. I was just practicing Southside Virginia. Having big steaks, watching big TV, having big drinks. That's it. And then in 2005, I went up to Yogaville to take my daughter up there because she was in a past transition. She needed to find her center. I took her up there. And while I was there, my GPS Navigator kicked back in. It's the feeling of something is alive. Something is alive in me. I don't know what it is, but it's got to be born. It's got to come out. I have to follow it. And the liquor fell off. The alcohol fell off. The meat fell off. I had a desire to meditate. And I began to meditate. And my writing came back. I hadn't written since 94 to 2005. I was just taking pictures. No writing. My writing and my meditation suddenly became spontaneous. It was coming from the heart instead of the labyrinth. Well, should I do it today or not? You see, that's where the labyrinth of the mind, it's all about choice. Should I choose this or choose that? Let me weigh what's better. Oh, well, am I going to meditate today or not? Well, let me see. I got all this important stuff to do, so meditation is down here. So I'll do this, you see. That's this. That's the labyrinth. The labyrinth is circular. Because when you're in the labyrinth, every choice is the same. And whatever you choose, you always end up back where you started. Groundhog Day. You can't get out of the suffering. And the suffering is because you can't choose yourself. Everything is lose-lose. How do you get to win-win? Of course, that was what Trump ran on, getting to win-win, but that didn't work out so well. So how do you get to win-win is when you are operating from and driving from and living from your GPS Navigator. When you're on the GPS Navigator, whatever turn you make, you're still going home. You still win. You're never guilty. You're never sinful. You're never evil. You're never an idiot. You're never judged. The Navigator, your heart, just says turn left, turn right, turn left. Never breaks. Never gets mad. Never quits. Turn right, turn left. You're always going home. The world loves you. The world boots around you. The world embraces you. If you move here, the world moves with you. If you move there, the world moves with you. You're always at home. You're always at the center. But if we live on the flat map, we're living in the labyrinth. We're always trying to get somewhere in time. You see, on the GPS Navigator, time wraps around you. On the flat map, you are in time. On the GPS Navigator, you are time. That's Zen, that's Buddhism. You are time. But at the same time, you're still on the flat map because you're a person with a personality, and you got things to do, and you got jobs to do, and people know your name. And you live in that personality, it's fine. But your true self, your true center, is on the GPS Navigator. So you lead with the GPS. You follow your heart. You live in the vow. So for those of you who are starting out on this journey to find the GPS Navigator inside, you need a vow. And in spiritual life, the vow is your practice. Now that points back to when I first started with yoga. I was given a vow. Do this, don't eat meat, don't drink, don't smoke. Do this silly practice of saying a mantra and doing these yoga postures, you see. That was a vow. Do that. No matter what the world does, no matter what your mind does, no matter how stupid it is, no matter how ridiculous, no matter how people laugh at you, whatever, you do it. And that becomes your Ariadne's thread. Because when you decide to leave the labyrinth, all hell is going to break loose. The labyrinth is going to say, oh, you want to leave the labyrinth? You're crazy. You're coming back in here. It's like leaving a cult. You can't leave. Everybody will shame you, shun you. You can't go out there. Come back in here. What are you, idiot? You see, you can't leave. But even though it's painful to be in it, it's more painful to be out there because there's nothing out there. You've never been out there before. It's on the other side of the earth. We've never been out of the labyrinth. It's like the movie, The Cuckoo's Nest. We're in the cuckoo's nest. We don't know what it's like. We don't know what it's like outside the cuckoo's nest. But the heart does. The heart knows. And it wants to go there. But the mind says, oh, no, no, no. That's unknown. All of your choices are all in here. Stay here. It's suffering. You may have a lot of pain, may have a lot of suffering, but it's better than not existing. See? So, if you're going to begin this practice, and you get a stirring inside, something is alive in me, something wants to be born, something is alive, I don't know what it is. That's stirring. A good metaphor is when a woman's first pregnant, and when the baby kicks, oh, something's alive in me. Something is alive. I don't know what it is. Well, on the spiritual path, that's the God that dwells within you is you. That's God kicking. I'm alive. I want to be. What shall I be? I don't know. I'm pure potential. I'm not something that already exists. I'm potential. And on the spiritual path, you create the path. On the GPS Navigator, on the flat map, you follow the path that's been laid. You follow the road that's been laid. You follow the religion. You follow the teaching. And there's nothing wrong with that. But it's going to end up in a circle. You're going to make a round and come back and say, I've been here before. What's new? So I hope these have been good metaphors for you to get a grasp of the labyrinth, Ariadne's thread. Because when you have a vow, you hang on to that vow no matter what. Remember the movie Mel Gibson made about Hacksaw Ridge? That was about a vow, about a soldier who had a vow not to touch a gun. And he went into a rifle squad, which touches guns. But he kept his vow. And the vow took him through hell, took him through impossible, complicated obstacles. And everybody that ridiculed him began to praise him. He held his vow, you see. But now that was just, he said, I vow not to touch a rifle because he almost killed his father, you see. So what I'm talking about is the vow to not move, to find some place in your life, some little island, some little spot that is not part of the labyrinth. Some 20 minutes a day sitting on the back porch, meditating. 20 minutes a day reading some spiritual material. 20 minutes a day meditating. 20 minutes a day saying a mantra, a mala. 20 minutes a day that has no value in the world. 20 minutes a day that has no reason in the world. That's not logical. To get nothing from it because it doesn't relate to the world. That's why people don't meditate. There's no reference to the world. What good is it? What are you doing? What are you making? What's the point? You see, it doesn't make sense in the labyrinth. But it makes sense to your heart. It makes sense to your GPS navigator that is just waiting for you to activate it and make you the center of the world. So, thanks for dropping in.